Hello everyone, my name is Mohsen Gashosbi and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Building Construction Science at Mississippi State University, and along with my colleague Saeed Rukui, I will be presenting part of our research. This presentation is titled as Collaboration as a Multifaceted Skill Set in Construction Education. As far as the significance, as you all know, the constantly evolving environment in architecture, engineering, and construction industry requires a higher level of interdisciplinary collaboration and acquiring certain skill sets in teamwork. Now, as academics, we have an obligation to prepare our students to have that level of competence when they enter the job market and want to work in the industry. So the importance of collaboration, and in particular communication skills, is even more prominent as we head toward that direction in construction industry. For this study, we looked at 2 of the 8 studios in the curriculum of the Building Construction Science and the Architecture program at Mississippi State University. We collected data throughout 2020 and 2021. As you can see in the table, our survey questionnaire had 2 parts. The first part focused on obtaining demographic information, which you can see, and in our second part focused on questions that really looked at student perception about collaboration and how successful or unsuccessful collaboration was from their point of view. The analysis was done through descriptive statistics, and the data was primarily quantitative, and analysis was done quantitative as well. As you can see in the table, the majority of construction students, so BCS stands for Building Construction Science, I'll be using construction instead of BCS from now on, are primarily male students, and architecture, the majority of students are female. But you can see there's slight differences as far as what the expected final grade is and what is the hours spent per week, and the difference between construction and architecture students. Now, let's take a look at the various questions that we had on the survey questionnaire. So figure 1 shows the percentage of success level of teamwork with collaborators. So you can see that overall students all voted that the level of success teamwork with collaborators are in the moderate and high category. Now figure 2 shows a number of different factors and student votes as far as those factors being impactful on the success of the collaborative studio. So you can see that there are certain factors that are voted higher and there are factors that are voted lower. Factors like working on the same time in the same place voted lower relative to factors like regular feedback by teammates. Some other questions show figure 3, percentage of learning levels from collaborators. So as you can tell, these teams, the collaborative teams in the studio, comprise of typically 2 to 3 architecture and 2 to 3 construction students. And respectively, there are typically 2 to 3 architecture professors and construction professors. So students have the possibility of asking questions and communicating with their major professors or their collaborator professor. Similarly, between them, their teammates in their discipline, or the major, the collaborator majors. So you can see that overall, students voted similarly, but there are slight differences, and students have a preference of learning from their own major as opposed to the collaborator major. Similarly, for professors, you can see in figure 4 that students have a higher level of success or learning from their major professors as opposed to the major professors, collaborator professors. Figure 5 shows the percentage of discussion preference level, so that shows whether students prefer to discuss various issues within their discipline or with the collaborator discipline. And again, as you can see, typically or generally speaking, students prefer to have those discussions in their own discipline as opposed to the collaborator discipline. But again, those are slightly in different categories. So in high and very high, you can see higher share of students in for own or for their particular discipline, and vice versa. Figure 6 shows the percentage of communication quality levels. And again, here you see that students have a higher quality level of communication among their discipline as opposed to the collaborator discipline. Figure 7 shows a percentage of perception about the collaborative studio, and this is pretty similar across different categories, which could imply certain perception or ideas among students. And figure 8 shows the percentage of student performance level impacting the success of a student's project. And you can see that here 51% voted high for own major teammates. So that means that typically students perform higher if they have a good level of communication or rapport among themselves as opposed to their collaborator major teammates. Here you can see in figure 9 the percentage of overall satisfaction level, and that also shows us a similar trend with 46% ranking in high category and 18% in a very high and 26% in moderate for their discipline, and collaborators slightly different, divided into different categories. And the final question is the perception of willingness to take another collaborative studio. And again, this is asked from both the studios, and studios are happening either in the second year and the third year. So typically this applies either to the second year student or to the third year that are potentially suggesting other students to take the studio. And you can see the votes are pretty equal in different categories, but most students are suggesting that collaborative effort are particularly more helpful within the same discipline. So what are some discussions or some conclusions that can be driven by this data? Obviously, the study shows that there is effectiveness, there's efficacy of communication and success in collaborative studio from a student perspective. But the study also really highlights the importance of communication in overall success. A lot of the votes that were given by the students were impacted by how they saw communication either as effective or not effective. The study also suggests that certain factors, including the lack of efficiency in communication, can lead to unsuccessful collaboration. Improper team dynamic, the project scope, presence of external entities or industry partner also may negatively impact the collaboration. Now, it's evident that obviously students within a certain discipline, especially in a studio-based program like the architecture and construction program here at Mississippi State, developed a level of understanding and familiarity over the past year or two when they were in a curriculum, so they have a better understanding, and it's not unusual that they have the ability to work and communicate better with each other, so that's something to consider. But for future study, we suggest exploring other dimensions of collaboration construction education, and those include the size of the collaborative team, the makeup of the team, so how many students from each discipline should be in the team, the time needed to complete the project, as well as examining how different modules of a project might induce or discourage collaboration. Thank you for listening, and if you have any question, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.